swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Could you please state and spell your name for the court record?
My name is Catherine Colombo. My first name is spelled Kathryn. My last name is spelled Colombo.
Thank you. What is your current occupation and where are you employed?
I'm a forensic scientist and I'm employed by the Virginia Department of Forensic Science.
And how long have you worked for DFS?
For 18 years.
Did you have any experience in forensic DNA testing prior to DFS?
I did. I was employed for 9 years as a DNA analyst at a private forensic DNA testing laboratory. I was employed for 3 years at the FBI laboratory conducting testing in the serology and DNA analysis units. And I was employed for 1 year at the Suffolk County Laboratory in New York in the same capacity, conducting body fluid testing and DNA testing.
Outside of your extensive experience, did you have to go through any specific training to become a DFS employee?
At DFS, and actually for each of my places of employment, there was specialized training with supervisory and senior scientists, and it involved a combination of attending lectures, reading the literature, processing a wide range of samples in the laboratory, and then successfully completing laboratory written and oral competencies.
Thank you. What are your responsibilities as a forensic scientist at DFS?
I examine items of evidence for the presence of body fluid stains, such as blood and semen. I conduct DNA testing. I issue reports of my results and interpretations, and I testify in court when needed.
Speaking of testimony, have you testified as an expert before?
I have.
All right. Do you recall testifying as an expert in Fairfax County?
Yes.
How many times?
Approximately 30.
All right. Thank you. Judge, at this time, I would offer Ms. Colombo as an expert in the field of forensic science and DNA analysis.
Any objection? No. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Colombo, can you briefly describe for the jury what DNA is?
The letters are an abbreviation for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it's the chemical substance found in our bodies that contains all the information and instructions that a person needs to develop and function during his or her lifetime. So it contains the information and instructions that influence the person's physical traits, and it contains the information and instructions that directs and regulates cellular processes occurring in the body. We inherit our DNA from our parents, half from our father and half from our mother.
And can you describe for the jury what DNA typing is?
Forensic DNA typing is a laboratory procedure that examines locations or regions of the DNA where individuals may have different DNA information. It's used to determine if an evidence profile, perhaps it's a profile from a sample from the crime scene, it's used to determine whether that evidence profile could or could not have originated from certain individuals whose DNA has been submitted for comparison. And this information can be useful in the investigation of a criminal case.
So how do you do this? What is the process that you use at the lab to type DNA?
It's a multi-step process, and it begins with a DNA extraction. And this is the step where the cells present in the sample are broken open to release the DNA, and then the DNA is purified of other cellular material. Then an assessment is made of the quantity and the quality of the DNA. Then a technique is used to label and make millions of copies of specific regions of the DNA. And at the end of this step, I have labeled copies of DNA fragments of different lengths. I then utilize an instrument to separate the fragments by size and detect the labels. And the information or the data from this instrument is imported into a software program that allows me to visualize the DNA profiles.
And what is the name of that software program, if you will?
That's called Gene Mapper.
Okay. Do the terms Powerplex Fusion mean anything to you?
Yes, that's the name of the routine DNA test that I conduct, and it examines 24 regions on the DNA. I also conduct Y chromosome testing, which examines 17 regions on the Y chromosome.
What information do you then rely on for your statistical analysis?
For that analysis, I use the actual data for the evidence profile being evaluated, and I use population studies of the frequencies of the DNA types that's provided by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and I'm utilizing standards and guidelines in the field as well as my own laboratory's procedures.
All right. Let's talk about other types of testing that you might perform outside of DNA. Do you test for bodily fluids?
I do.
Okay. And what information do you use, or what methods do you employ to detect the presence of bodily fluids?
Body fluid testing, blood is indicated using visual and chemical tests. For seminal fluid, these tests are done using visual tests, chemical tests, and/or immunological tests. I also conduct a microscopic examination for spermatozoa, which are the male reproductive cells.
All right. So I think later we're going to see not confirmatory. What does it mean when the results of these tests on bodily fluid are not confirmatory?
Yes, so the blood and the seminal fluid tests that I do are called presumptive tests, and it means that a substance could possibly cause a positive reaction when either of those body fluids are not actually present. The identification of spermatozoa with a microscopic examination, that is a confirmatory test.
Thank you. So did you receive evidence collected from each of the 4 individuals involved in this case?
I did.
And what did you receive? Specifically, did you receive PERC kits?
I did.
Okay. What is a PERC to your knowledge?
It's a kit that contains samples and swabbings from various body areas.
And did you receive a PERC from Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan?
I did, and each contained a blood sample from which I produced a DNA profile to be used for comparison to evidence profiles.
All right. And then from Juliana Peres Magalhães and Brendan Banfield, did you receive a different type of material?
Yes.
What did you receive?
I received buccal samples from each, and a buccal sample is a swabbing of the inside of the mouth, of the inner cheeks, and it's a way for an individual to provide a DNA sample from which a profile can be developed and used for comparison to evidence profiles.
So you were able to develop a DNA profile for each of the 4 individuals involved in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You were then given a number of items to test for the presence of DNA and compare to those 4 profiles, right?
Yes.
Okay. Approximately how many certificates of analysis did that produce?
5.
Okay. I'm going to draw your attention to what I would like to offer into evidence as Commonwealth's 160, the lab analysis sheet from May 22nd, 2023.
Any objection? All right, 160 in evidence?
And if that can be published, please.
Yes.
All right, do you recognize this exhibit?
I do.
Can you identify what it is?
It's the certificate of analysis that I issued for laboratory case number N231753, and it's dated May 22nd, 2023.
All right. Let's walk through the items that you tested that resulted in the production of this certificate of analysis. We see item 10, the knife, and if I can have the court share Commonwealth's 114, previously admitted. Is this the item that you tested?
It appears to be, yes.
All right. Tell us about your results.
I collected a sample of red-brown staining from the sharp edge of the blade, and I recovered a sample of red-brown staining from the heel of the blade, and blood was indicated in each of those samples. And I developed the same DNA profile from each of those samples. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of that profile. Brendan Banfield, Juliana Peres Magalhães, and Joseph Ryan were each eliminated as contributors of that DNA profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from these two samples is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion, which is the approximate world population. And that was the case when I did the calculation in each of three population groups, the Caucasian, the African American, and the Hispanic. I then recovered a sample of red-brown staining from the underside of the handle where the blade and the handle meet, and I developed a DNA mixture profile. And that means that DNA from more than one individual was present. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Peres Magalhães were eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. I referred the data for this mixture profile to a separate analyst for evaluation with specialized software and for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics if applicable.
Thank you. Going back to your test of the blade of the knife and the language that an individual could not be eliminated as a contributor, would you also be able to say that means it was a match to the contributors that you did identify?
That could be another term that could be used. Could not be eliminated, a match, an inclusion.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask you to take a look at what's been previously admitted as Commonwealth's 129. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes,
Okay, and this was the fitted sheet from the bedroom of Juliana Peres Magalhães. Is that your understanding?
it is.
What areas of this sheet did you test?
I tested 5 stained areas. 4 of them were located inside that center area where there's the larger circle. And then 1 was located below the larger circle. And spermatozoa, which are the male reproductive cells, were identified in these 5 stained areas. I collected samples for DNA from 3 of the 5 areas, and I developed DNA profiles consistent with originating from common contributors. And because of that consistency, I selected the data from just 1 of the areas for further analysis and reporting. When I processed this sample, I used a method that attempts to separate the DNA information contained within the sperm cells from the DNA information contained within any other cell type present in the sample. So from the sperm fraction, I developed a DNA profile. Brendan Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of that profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as a contributor of that profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from the sperm fraction is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
All right, so Brendan Banfield's spermatozoa was identified on Juliana Peres Magalhães' bedsheet.
He could not be eliminated as a contributor of that profile, and the other 3 individuals were eliminated.
Thank
For-
you. I'm sorry.
For the non-sperm fraction, I developed a DNA mixture profile. And Brendan Banfield and Juliana Peres Magalhães could not be eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan were each eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual who would be included as a contributor to this mixture profile is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion, and that was the case in each of the 3 population groups.
Thank you. Turning to item 91, the Physical Evidence Recovery Kit, or PERK, from Christine Banfield. When you examined the contents of that kit, what did you determine?
In the kit, there was a vaginal cervical sample, an anorectal sample, and an oral sample, and blood was indicated on the oral sample. The blood tests were inconclusive for the vaginal cervical and anorectal sample, and no male DNA was detected on any of these samples, so no further testing was conducted. In the kit, there was a left breast swab, a right breast swab, a swabbing of the back of the left hand, and a swabbing of the palm of the left hand, and blood was indicated on each of these samples. From each of these samples, I developed a full profile attributable to Christine Banfield, and there were types different from Christine Banfield. However, the types different were too limited for comparison purposes. I did determine at this stage in the testing that it was possible that male DNA was present in these samples.
And did you then set those samples aside for further testing?
I reported that male DNA was possibly present and that these may be suitable for further Y chromosome DNA testing.
All right. To go back for just a second, though, before we looked at the left backhand, right breast, left palm, the anorectal, oral, and vaginal sample, they were negative for male DNA. Is that correct?
No male DNA was detected.
Thank you. What did you test next?
Then there was the right back of the hand sample, the right palm sample, and 3 samples from the neck, and blood was indicated on each of these samples. From each of these samples, there was a full profile attributable to Christine Banfield. However, there was nothing different from Christine Banfield. For the right hand samples, the back of the hand and the palm, it was possible that male DNA was present. For the 3 next samples, no male DNA was detected.
Looking then at the fingernail clippings, what did you learn from your testing?
Blood was indicated in a sample of the right hand fingernail clippings and in a sample of the left hand fingernail clippings. And I developed a DNA profile, and the profile that I developed from these samples, there was a full profile attributable to Christine Banfield. There was nothing different from Christine Banfield. However, it was possible that male DNA was present in these 2 samples.
Thank you. Did you also test head hair, pubic combings?
No.
Okay. You then turned to the Physical Evidence Recovery Kit from Joseph Ryan, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And what item from that kit did you test first?
I tested them contemporaneous in time, but listed in the report is the genital penis sample. No blood was observed on this sample. And I developed full profiles that were attributable to Joseph Ryan. There was nothing foreign to Joseph Ryan.
From the genital penis sample?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. You then have reported on his right backhand, right palm, and left palm. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was determined from that testing?
Blood was indicated on each of those samples. There was a full profile attributable to Joseph Ryan in each of those samples. And then from each, the same profile different from Joseph Ryan was detected, and Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the different profile. Juliana Peres Magalhães and Brendan Banfield were eliminated as contributors of the different profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile different from the hand samples of Joseph Ryan is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
And Joseph Ryan's fingernail clippings?
Yes, blood was indicated on the right hand fingernail clipping sample and on the left hand fingernail clipping sample. And I developed a full profile from each of these samples attributable to Joseph Ryan, and the same profile different from Joseph Ryan was developed from each of these samples. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the different profile. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Peres Magalhães were eliminated as contributors of the different profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the different profile developed from each of the fingernail samples from Joseph Ryan is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
Thank you. Going to direct your attention to what's been previously admitted as Commonwealth's 119. And this was a photograph at the scene of the crime of what I believe you tested as item 39, swab of stain on wall. You were also given what was photographed in Commonwealth's Exhibit 112, previously admitted. Items 42 and 43, swabs of stains from the carpet, and specifically from the carpet in front of the laundry basket. Now, tell us about your testing on these 3 swabs.
Blood was indicated on each of the swabs, and I developed the same DNA profile from each of the swabs. Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as a contributor of the profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as a contributor of the profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from these 3 swabs is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
Okay, so that's Joseph Ryan's blood on the wall and these 2 locations on the carpet, is that correct?
He can't be eliminated as a contributor, yes.
Thank you. I'd like to show you what was previously admitted as, one moment, Commonwealth's 120. This photograph in evidence was for item 41, the swab of stain from the front of the laundry basket. What testing did you perform there?
I conducted the blood testing, and blood was indicated, and a DNA mixture profile was developed, and Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as contributors to that mixture profile. Juliana Peres Magalhães and Brendan Banfield were eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual who would be included as a contributor to this mixture profile is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
All right, so that's Christine and Joe cannot be eliminated from this side of the basket, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Turning to Commonwealth's previously admitted 121, the photograph that shows us a different angle of the basket. You tested a swab from the side of the laundry basket as item 56, is that correct?
It is.
And what profiles were present there?
Blood was indicated, and I developed a DNA profile. Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as a contributor of the profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from this stain swab is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the population groups.
All right, I'm going to ask you to take a look at Commonwealth's 103, previously admitted. Here we have the side of a bed frame. You were provided with a swab of a substance from that bed frame as item 71. Again, what did your test reveal?
Blood was indicated, and a DNA mixture profile was developed. Juliana Peres Magalhães and Brendan Banfield were eliminated as the contributors to the mixture profile. And for this mixture profile, I referred the data to another analyst for evaluation of the profile with specialized software. and for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan, and any statistics if applicable.
Thank you. This time, I'm going to have you take a look at Commonwealth's 161, a certificate of analysis from July 17th, 2023, and I would offer this into evidence as Commonwealth's 161.
Any objection? 161 in evidence.
All right, so this one's a little different. Tell us, what is Y chromosome testing?
Y chromosome testing is a male-specific test, and it examines regions on the Y chromosome.
Why was that manner of testing employed in this case?
In my previous report, I had indicated that there were samples where it was possible that male DNA was present and that Y chromosome testing could be done, and that request was made for me to do that testing. And the Y chromosome testing can be useful in situations where larger amounts of female DNA are mixed with smaller amounts of male DNA, such that with the routine test, I either don't get any information from the male component, or I get limited information that I can't use for comparison. So the advantage of the Y chromosome test is that it will ignore the female DNA, and it just examines regions on the Y chromosome, which is found only in males. The disadvantage is that it's not as discriminating as the routine test. There's less diversity, and with this test, males in the same paternal line would be expected to have the same Y chromosome DNA profile.
Okay, so using this alternative method of testing, what did you learn from the knife?
First, I want to mention that for the known samples from Brendan Banfield and from Joseph Ryan, I developed Y chromosome DNA profiles that I used for comparison to the evidence profiles developed.
Thank you. And did you compare those profiles to the profile developed from the knife?
Yes, I developed Y chromosome DNA types from the sample that I recovered from the sharp edge of the blade. However, these types were not suitable for comparison because of the limited information obtained.
Okay, and then you took a look at the perk from Christine Banfield again, and specifically the fingernail clippings?
Yes.
Did that reveal any information?
So for the right hand fingernail clippings, a Y chromosome DNA mixture profile originating from more than one male was developed, and Brendan Banfield was eliminated as a contributor to this Y chromosome DNA mixture profile. Because my laboratory does not have a method to use to calculate statistics for this type of Y chromosome mixture profile, I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Joseph Ryan. For the left-hand fingernail clippings from Christine Banfield, a Y chromosome DNA mixture profile originating from more than one male was developed. However, this mixture profile was not suitable for comparison due to the unknown number of contributors.
All right, and then turning to her right breast, and left back hand samples.
Yes. So Y chromosome DNA mixture profiles originating from more than one male were developed from each of these samples, and there is insufficient information to draw a conclusion with respect to Brendan Banfield as a contributor to these Y chromosome DNA mixture profiles. And again, with these mixture profiles, because my laboratory doesn't have a method in use for calculating statistics for this kind of a Y chromosome mixture profile, I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Joseph Ryan.
Were you able to reach any conclusions for the right backhand and left palm sample?
Yes, Y chromosome DNA mixture profiles were developed, and I developed the same major Y chromosome DNA profile from each of these samples. And a major profile means that one of the contributors is contributing more of their DNA relative to the other, such that that profile can be clearly and easily determined. So Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as a contributor of the major Y chromosome DNA profile developed from these two samples, nor could any of his male relatives in his paternal line. Brendan Banfield was eliminated as a contributor of the major profile developed from these two samples. And I followed there's a particular procedure for calculating the statistics for the Y chromosome, and it ultimately resulted in a frequency for the major Y chromosome DNA profile of approximately 1 in 2,800 male individuals in the Caucasian population, 1 in 2,300 male individuals in the African American population, and 1 in 2,000 male individuals in the Hispanic population. For the minor profiles, they weren't suitable for comparison, either due to the limited information obtained or to the complex nature.
Okay, and you looked at the right palm sample, but that one was not suitable for comparison, is that correct?
That's right, that was due to the complex nature and the limited information obtained. It was a DNA mixture, a Y chromosome DNA mixture profile that was developed from that sample.
Okay. We'll turn to what's being marked as Commonwealth's 162, Certificate of Analysis from February 5th, 2024.
Yes,
To offer that into evidence at this time as Commonwealth's 162.
Any objection?
Okay.
162.
All right, do you recognize this document?
I do.
All right, and Judge, I'd ask it be published if it has not yet already.
It is.
All right. Could I try to move through this one a little bit more quickly because it wasn't as interesting, I think, for us. The swab of the cartridge casings did not present enough DNA for there to be testing. Is that correct?
That's correct. For the item 75 swab of the cartridge case, no blood was observed. For item 76, no blood was indicated. And then for this type of sample, which is called a DNA trace sample or a DNA touch sample, my laboratory has done a study and we've determined a threshold of DNA that must be present in order to proceed with the testing, because we know if we don't have that threshold met, we don't get useful results. And these two samples did not meet the threshold, so DNA analysis was discontinued.
All right, and the testing from Mr. Banfield's hand swabs, what did that reveal?
No blood was indicated on the right-hand swab or the left-hand swab. From the right-hand swab, a full profile attributable to Brendan Banfield was detected, and there was a profile different from Brendan Banfield, but it was of no value due to the unknown number of contributors and the limited information obtained. For the left-hand sample, a full profile attributable to Brendan Banfield was detected, and there was a mixture profile different from Brendan Banfield detected. And Juliana Peres Magalhães and Joseph Ryan were eliminated as contributors to a different profile. For this profile, I'm not offering conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield, and that was due to laboratory resource management considerations. It would involve the software, and it didn't appear to me that it was particularly probative. However, if requested, that statistical analysis could have been done.
Okay, but we didn't dig into this, and were you aware that Mr. Banfield was permitted to wash his hands prior to the collection of these swabs?
I believe I was told that, yes.
Okay, and would that have affected your testing?
The washing could remove blood and DNA.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to direct you to Commonwealth's 131, previously admitted. All right, this photograph is of Mr. Banfield's coat, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the testing that you did on this item. You reported in your certificate that there were several testing locations. Are those locations marked on this photograph?
Most of them are. The only ones that aren't are the general swabbings that I made of the exterior of the left sleeve, the front and the rear, from about midway to the top of the sleeve.
Okay, so if we dig into your report then, can we talk about your testing of each of the areas on the coat? What did your testing reveal?
Yes, I was requested to examine the exterior back of the coat and the exterior of the sleeves, except for the cuff areas for blood and DNA. On the exterior back of the right sleeve, there were 2 red-brown stained areas, and blood was indicated in each of these areas. And I arbitrarily designated one as A and the other as B. And I developed DNA mixture profiles from each of these stained areas. And Brendan Banfield and Juliana Peres Magalhães were each eliminated as contributors to those mixture profiles. I referred the data from the mixture profile from stained area A to another analyst for analysis with the software for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics, if applicable. For stained area B, for that stained area, I'm not sure if I mentioned that Brendan Banfield and Juliana Peres Magalhães were each eliminated as contributors to that profile. I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan, and that's because it was an approximately equivalent profile to stained area A, and to conserve lab resources and prevent redundancy, I'm not offering conclusions.
All right, what other areas of the jacket did you test?
There was an area on the exterior rear, the lower left side, and an area on the exterior rear on the upper left shoulder area. And these were discolored areas, and the blood tests were inconclusive for each of these areas. I developed DNA mixture profiles from each area. Joseph Ryan was eliminated as a contributor to each of these mixture profiles. For the mixture profile developed from the exterior and the lower left side, I referred the data for that mixture profile to another analyst for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield, Brendan Banfield, and Juliana Peres Magalhães using the statistical software. For the area on the upper left shoulder area on the left side, that was an approximately equivalent mixture profile. So to avoid redundancy, I did not refer that mixture profile for further analysis, and I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield, Brendan Banfield, or Juliana Peres Magalhães.
All right.
There were 3 additional areas that I tested.
Oh, I'm sorry,
not
keep
sure-
going, more coat.
Yeah. On the exterior rear, the lower right side, and on the exterior front of the left sleeve and the exterior back of the left sleeve from midway to the top of the sleeve, blood was indicated in each of those 3 samples. And I did develop DNA mixture profiles. However, none of them were suitable for comparison due to the unknown number of contributors and the complex nature.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to have you take a look at Commonwealth's previously admitted 139, and we'll scroll through to 142. Do you recognize these items?
I do.
Go back one. What was the result of the testing on the shoes of Juliana identified in your lab?
There were 16 stained areas across both of the shoes on the exterior bottoms and on the exterior lower front, rear, and back sides. Blood was indicated in each of those 16 areas. I developed DNA mixture profiles from each of those areas. 5 of them were not suitable for comparison due to the unknown number of contributors and the complexity. For the remaining 11, a major profile was developed, and Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the major profile developed, and the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the major profile developed from these 11 stained areas is 1 in approximately 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups. For 8 of the 11 areas, Juliana Peres Magalhães, Brendan Banfield, and Joseph Ryan are eliminated as contributors of the major profiles. However, the minor profiles were not suitable for comparison, either due to the limited information obtained or to the complex nature. For the remaining 3, for 1, Juliana Peres Magalhães, Brendan Banfield, and Joseph Ryan were eliminated from the mixtures as a whole. For the remaining 2, Joseph Ryan and Juliana Peres Magalhães were eliminated as contributors of the mixture profiles as a whole, and I'm not offering conclusions with respect to Brendan Banfield and those mixture profiles, and that was due to laboratory resource management reasons.
Okay, let's take a look at what I would like to offer as, here we go, Commonwealth's 164, Certificate of Laboratory Analysis from June 10th, 2024.
Any objection to 164? All right, 164 in evidence.
Thank you. All right, the testing just keeps coming. In this particular instance, you tested item 24, the fitted sheet. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right, this is the sheet from the primary bedroom. Is that your understanding?
it is.
What were the results of your testing, this time for blood, right?
Yes, I was asked to test a specific red-brown area. It was on the exterior of one of the corners, and blood was indicated in the sample, and I developed a DNA mixture profile. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Peres Magalhães were eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile, and I referred the data for this mixture profile to another analyst for evaluation with this specialized software and for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics if applicable.
Okay. Item 118, the sneaker insert from the tennis shoe of Juliana. This time you were testing not the outside of the shoe, but rather the inside. Is that correct?
I was asked to test the staining on the left sneaker insert.
All right, I'm going to direct your attention to Commonwealth's 143, previously admitted, just so we can see what you're talking about. Was this the object that you tested?
Yes,
Okay, tell us about the results.
there are 2 red-brown stained areas. One is within that circle that you see on the screen, and another area above, the staining above that area. And blood was indicated in each of those areas. And DNA mixture profiles were developed with the same major profile, and Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor as a major contributor to those mixture profiles. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as major contributors to the mixture profiles. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the major profile developed from these 2 areas from the insert is 1 in greater than 8.1 billion in each of the 3 population groups. My laboratory had undergone a revision of its manuals, and the approximation of the world population had been updated from 7.2 to 8.1. The minor profiles developed from each of these areas were not suitable for comparison due to the limited information, or I'm sorry, I believe it's for the complex nature of the information.
Thank you. I'm going to direct your attention to Commonwealth's previous exhibits 134, 135, and 136. So here's 134, 135, 136, and we'll start back with 135. These are Brendan Banfield's genes, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and looking at this photograph, we have a close-up of 5 spots. Is that accurate?
yes,
Okay. Did you test those spots individually?
I did.
And how did you identify those spots in your testing?
Well, I was directed to examine these 5 stains and an additional 6 stain on the rear of the jeans near the waistband. And I labeled them from top to bottom. I designated them A, B, C, D, and E.
Okay, and so that would be, if you see my cursor, A, B, C, D, and E, is that accurate?
Right, for the area on the exterior front of the right pant leg.
Okay, and then we had this spot on the back, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that was tested as well?
Yes.
Okay, and what did your testing reveal?
Blood was indicated in each of the stains. I developed 4 single-source profiles. It was the same single-source profile. From the remaining 2 areas, I developed mixtures with the same major profile, which was also the same profile as the single-source profile developed from the 4 previous stains. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of this profile, and the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed is 1 in greater than 8.1 billion in each of the 3 population groups. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as contributors to this profile. For the 2 areas where there were mixtures, the minor profiles were not suitable for comparison due to the limited information obtained.
Okay, so let's talk about this for just a second, because we have 5 blood droplets, for lack of a better description, and you're telling us that you found a major profile and that was Christine Banfield, or that she could not be eliminated, but you did find a minor profile. Were you surprised to find a minor contributor here to these seemingly singular drops of blood?
The minor profiles were very limited. The testing is sensitive, so it's not unusual to see that. And in order to test these, they were so small and they weren't absorbing well onto a swab. I actually had to cut through the material, so there could have been some trace DNA on the interior of the pants that I might be detecting.
All right, because these pants were on someone when they were collected, correct? To your knowledge?
That would be my understanding, yes.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to Commonwealth's previously admitted 125. Do you recognize this photo?
I do.
Okay. And this is Joseph Ryan's backpack, is that correct?
Correct.
Does the circle mark the area from which you drew your samples?
That was the area that I was asked to test, and I took a representative sample of the red-brown staining, and blood was indicated. And Joseph Ryan couldn't be eliminated as a contributor of the profile that I developed from this stained area. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as contributors to this DNA profile, and the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from the stained area on the backpack is 1 in greater than 8.1 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
All right. I believe you had 1 additional sheet, but that did not indicate any positive profiles, or there were not any profiles developed from the items that were tested. In that case, the over-the-ear hearing protection, Juliana's socks, and the stained swab from the Hyundai. Is that correct?
From the socks, I developed profiles, mixture profiles, but they weren't suitable for comparison due to the complexity and/or the complex nature. For the over-the-ear hearing protection, I collected a sample from the ear cushions, but that profile did not meet the quantitation threshold in order to continue the testing, so DNA analysis was discontinued.
Okay, and we'll just go ahead and make sure that everyone has everything. That's what would be Commonwealth's 163, the Certificate of Laboratory Analysis from April 2nd, 2024, offered in evidence.
Any objection? All right, in evidence.
All right, I believe I do not have any further questions. Doctor, thank you so much. I'm sorry, Ms. Colombo, thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate your answer any questions that Mr. Carroll might have for you at this
We will
time.
do that after our afternoon break.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and take our 15-minute break. Please do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research, okay? Since you're still on the stand, please do not discuss your testimony with anybody to include the prosecutors at this point, okay?
Thank you.
We'll be back, let's come back at 3:45?
Thank you, Judge.
All right, 3:45.
All rise.
All right, cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And I forget, do I call you Dr. Colombo?
No,
Mrs. Colombo?
Miss.
Mrs. Colombo?
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions about your lab sheets. We've discussed this before, so I appreciate that. I do have a question, though, regarding transfer DNA. Would you be able to talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll just give you a factual scenario. If you have the same mixture on someone's hand, and that hand hits someone on a certain part of the body, would you expect transfer in the same identifying amounts from the hand to the body?
So the ability to develop DNA profiles as a result of transfer, it's dependent on a number of unpredictable variables. So if the hand with the stain was still wet and it was very soon that the contact was made, I would suspect, well, with each transfer, there's a loss of information, but I would expect that sample to transfer.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only question I have.
All right, assume no redirect then?
Okay.
All right, is this witness subject to recall?
She is not. Thank you.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you, Ms. Colombo.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your next witness?
Dr. Susan Greenspan, please.